Toshinori Yagi was once an idealistic teenager. Like Deku, he idolized great heroes, but he always felt that they were lacking something important. Despite the rising popularity and number of heroes, there was no decrease in crime. He believed that the people needed a hero to support them, not just protect them. A symbol of peace that will be able to inspire those around him to follow his example. To do this, he had to defeat a powerful villain that none of his predecessors could best, and become the greatest hero in Japan. No matter the difficulties, he rose to every challenge, vanquished the symbol of evil, achieved icon status, and became the pillar of society he dreamt of becoming. With his own strength, he ushered in a new era of peace and prosperity. But there are those who desire a return to darker times. They grow bored of days when people feel safe on the street. They resent the complacent status quo of peace times. And a patient, vengeful villain can be a hero's worst nightmare. All for One's sworn revenge will one day come to fruition. Tomura Shigaraki is All for One's symbol of terror, to counter the symbol of peace that One for All has been used to establish. In order to undo the peace All Might has achieved, to allow villains to have the upper hand in society once again, All for One creates a villain who will remind the public of fear by attacking its protector. Tomura believes that a society propped up on one man acting as its pillar is made fragile. He wishes to destroy that pillar, just to watch the society it upholds crumble and fall. Unlike a typical idealistic villain, he doesn't just have one reason to oppose All Might. He accepts and symbolizes any and every reason to desire to hurt heroes. Some of his arguments even bordering on sophistry simply to establish a dialogue. Tomura became a villain due to a feeling of hatred towards heroes. This of course contrasts Deku's inspiration for becoming a hero. Midoriya wanted to be a cool hero like All Might, and All Might basically said, sure, as long as you become the greatest hero ever. At times, it feels like Deku's only trying to become the symbol of peace out of a Tim Drake-esque sense of obligation. Like, well, I ate the hair, so I guess I gotta fight Darth Vader. However, we know that All Might chose Midoriya because he sees the qualities of a great hero in him. He's made a hobby of analyzing heroes' performances, so he's adept in the art of analyzing enemy and ally quirks, a necessary skill for the greatest hero. He's very hardworking and dedicated to the career. Most importantly, as demonstrated in the first episode, he does not hesitate to help others. In fact, he's compelled to try to save people. All Might believes this quality, and the power of One for All, will inevitably result in the next generation's greatest hero. He just wants Deku to be prepared for that responsibility. All Might almost forgot the value of this trait until he saw it in Midoriya. Part of the reason why may be that he's learned it's impossible to save everyone. Tomura's hatred of heroes stemmed from an event where they ultimately failed him. He was left alone and afraid by the people who were supposed to save everyone, and at the mercy of villains. The reality of that hollow promise forged resentment inside him. As a result, he despises anyone who extols this particular value. Since he hates heroes, he likes villains. He'll admonish all of their actions and promise them a more chaotic world where guys like them can have more fun. He's consistently able to find villains to recruit to his cause. He doesn't do so alone, but he is the one who has to convince them to follow his plans. Shigaraki is hateful, brash, and bratty. However, he's a competent combatant, capable of analyzing enemy quirks and exploiting their weaknesses on the fly, and his assaults against hero culture are surprisingly intelligent and increasingly well coordinated. Even his introduction, the UA invasion, had a fair amount of thought and preparation that went into it. Of course, that may have been due to All for One's guiding hand. He's attributed to being the mastermind behind the League of Villains, but it seems like he just tries to help Shigaraki complete his goals. Like through lending him the anti-symbol of peace, the first and most powerful Nomu we've seen in the anime. A villain that's been turned into a weapon of destruction, created for the sole purpose of destroying All Might. This is a classic superhero theme I love. The presence of the hero invites more and stronger villains. Of course, the job of the superhero is rising to these new challenges. It teaches Shigaraki an important lesson. All Might is not to be underestimated. His speed and strength are unfair, but All Might's vulnerability was also important for encouraging Shigaraki to continue his villainous exploits. Tomura also learned that he'll need more powerful allies to compete with a number of active pro-heroes when the other UA teachers show up. Deku, on the other hand, learns the terror of facing true villains head-on. All Might showed him firsthand. When these stronger villains appear, your only option is to go beyond your limits. After the USJ invasion, the next step in Deku's hero education is the famed UA Sports Festival. Technically, this is just a school event, but Deku learns a lot about the nature of being a hero during this arc. After he wins the obstacle race, Deku gets to face the challenges of being on top. With his headband being worth a whopping 10 million points, whoever possesses it is guaranteed to win first place. He has to defend his place at the top, and everyone gunning for it will have their eyes on him. Here, Deku experiences the pressure of the attention he seeks. As number one hero, anyone who wants that spot will be competing with him. However, the cavalry match isn't just about simulating the adversity between pro-heroes. It's also about their cooperation. The sports festival sets all of UA against one another, encouraging them to prioritize personal gain. The cavalry battle subverts that setup and simulates a scenario where multiple pro-heroes' interests align. Class B takes the most advantage of this, and I hope to see their affinity for cooperation and teamwork play a more consequential role in the future. For Deku, who aspires to become the top hero, leading his team to victory helps him understand the position of the symbol of peace slightly better. His teammates trust him. They put their faith in him to overcome the odds and come out on top for all of their sakes. He is to become the pillar that holds up the hero society, the one that all heroes will place their faith into to stand between that society and those that would threaten it. He must become a hero's hero. I said before that Tomura's attacks get increasingly intelligent in design, but his League of Villains' second appearance is actually just him giving into his bratty tendencies. He meets Stain, decides he hates him because he appreciates All Might, and sets 5 Nomus free in Hosu because he wants to upstage the hero killer. Really, he's just lashing out for attention, with pent-up rage from his recent defeat at All Might's hands. When it actually works out in a League of Villains' favor by attracting many young ne'er-do-wells to their banner, Shigaraki is too aggravated that the group went viral because of Stain's effort instead of his own to accept it. He literally trudges off in the middle of an interview all grumpy like, "Dang it, what's so cool about Stain?" He sees Deku at the mall and decides to cheer himself up by bullying that kid he hates. Bakugo can relate. But he also takes the opportunity to ask Deku why he thinks everyone's paying attention to Stain and not him. As much as I tease Tomura, this desire for his atrocities to be in the front of people's minds so that he can be in the spotlight is an appropriate quality for the symbol of terror. Of course, the real answer to his question is that All For One wanted Stain's message broadcasted to the world to attract attention to Tomura's League of Villains, and he knew that a speech filled with conviction would be more engaging than a monster battle with no theater. But Tomura probably wouldn't blame his master for anything, and Deku's answer satisfies him more than that one would anyway. He says that while Shigaraki seems to just perform mindless acts of violence, he could relate to Stain's message, because his and Stain's philosophies both stem from admiration for All Might. This is next level confirmation bias for Tomura. Literally everything in the world that annoys him is All Might's fault, and killing him by any means necessary will fix the root problem. Good talk, Midoriya. Tomura realizes he never really did lack conviction, just clarity regarding the nature of his conviction. He already equated his desire to destroy All Might to curiosity or a mere thirst for violence. Stain had a reason for his violence, so he got respect. Tomura realizes his goal is still to destroy the society he loathes by destroying its pillar, because everything he hates traces back to All Might. He marches back to base with reinvigorated resolve, and exploits an ideology he doesn't believe in to gain followers just like his cunning teacher would suggest, and devises a plan to kill that kid he hates and really hurt the hero's reputation. And Deku got to experience a sadistic villain using civilian hostages to gain the upper hand, which is a hero rite of passage. Okay, Tomura definitely got more development out of this interaction than Deku, but that's part of the beauty of My Hero Academia. It's so far a story of progression. I like the idea of a long-running shonen with a recurring enemy who gets stronger and more dangerous with each appearance rather than an enemy of the week or a group of enemies dealt with one at a time. The League of Villains, under Tomura Shigaraki's command, is only becoming more intimidating. It's only made more appropriate by the superhero setting. Shigaraki is a budding Joker, and the transformation is a joy to watch.
世の中笑ってるやつが一番強いからな。
All Might's smile means a lot to hero otaku like our boy Deku. When you see that smile, it tells you that everything will be okay. Deku lacks All Might's confidence, so he struggles to smile when faced with perilous scenarios. Part of Deku's path to becoming a hero includes finding new reasons to smile in these difficult times, like appreciating the thrill of facing and defeating strong opponents. It's a way for him to mimic All Might's confidence, and hopefully simulate his victory. As All Might describes, it allows him to trick the fear inside himself, and reassure those around him. A hero's smile alleviates fear. And because All Might's always smiling, constantly perpetuating the idea that everything will be okay, the people under his protection have come to believe that idea. He allows them to smile and rest easy as well. The optimistic themes surrounding a hero's smile in My Hero Academia are brilliantly contrasted by Tomura's chilling, unnerving smile. A villain smiles when he realizes something amusingly twisted that fits his worldview. He smiles when he sees people suffering, or when he decides what horrible thing to do next. The symbol of terror has a smile that tells you something terrible is going to happen. The smiles on the faces of civilians that Tomura is forced to endure daily fill him with a spite that feels hypocritical. Despite all of the death and suffering which these people abhor going on around the world, they're all here, apathetically smiling. It's not even apathy, it's just thoughtlessness. However, what's the alternative? Either they go on and live their lives aware of but separated from that suffering, or they try to intervene. But Tomura also despises those who desire to help people. Both of these sentiments stem from the event in his childhood that scarred him to this day. He's been the person that no one thought about, that needed saving but was forgotten. The normal people he sees smile because they believe in what Shigaraki considers a lie. They believe that heroes will keep them safe, and that infuriates him. So badly he wants to kill just to show even one person the reality behind that lie. So he despises the smiles of people just trying to find happiness in a world that's finally found some sense of peace, and the heroes who want to protect them because they only serve to convince people of the alleged lie that betrayed him. Tomura Shigaraki loathes the smiles that All Might's peace inspires, and his perversion of the iconic smile is just another way that he wants to tear down All Might's legacy. There is a difference in the nature of Tomura's and Deku's studies. Tomura is an only student to his master, All For One, while Deku has other students in his class and other teachers that he learns from. To be fair, Tomura also has Kurogiri looking out for him. There are pros and cons to these approaches, but obvious examples of the advantage this grants Deku are when he thought of Bakugo's natural mastery of his quirk and developed full cowl, or Hatsume Mei's suggestion that Ida should run with his arms inspired Deku to develop his shoot style. Just being around these other developing heroes makes Deku better, and his resolve to become the best of the bunch makes him stronger as well. Because heroes in general are more devoted to the next generation than villains, and because heroes have gotten so popular in their society, Deku has a lot of people supporting them. Alternatively, All For One has to directly install creeds fitting of the symbol of terror into Shigaraki, such as you're allowed to destroy things you don't like. Of course, Tomura has the advantages of anonymity and experience. He's been under All For One's wing for longer than Deku and All might have known each other, and he's much further along in his education. Of course, heroes generally have the advantage over villains in this society, which gives Tomura a cool underdog element that doesn't usually balance well with such an intimidating presence. With the resources at his disposal, I don't think it'll be long before Deku catches up. It's possible that thought is part of Shigaraki's desire to kill Deku. Most characters can see that Deku has the potential to be a great hero, and if Shigaraki shares that estimation, he may be intimidated by the obstacle Deku threatens to become. After all, his All Might-like speed made an impression on Tomura after the USJ invasion, even to the point that he brought it up to All For One. It's vague how much he knows about One For All, but he may already see a future All Might to his All For One in Deku, and he wants to snuff out that potential, or it'll strengthen the hero society. So when they meet in the mall, Tomura promised that the next time they'd meet would be when he decided to kill Midoriya. In the wake of the publicity of the League of Villains following Stain's capture, not just new villains, but conspirators of the criminal underworld begin to rally behind Tomura's promising operation. They understand the value of what Shigaraki's trying to do, that destroying All Might will make their opportunities more frequent and prosperous. The League of Villains' power and influence is growing, so Shigaraki decides to weaken his enemy and make good on his promise at once. With All For One finding the destination of UA's training camp, Shigaraki sends the League of Villains Vanguard Action Squad to disrupt the peace. Running in and killing everyone didn't work the last two times, so let's try a tactical strike in an underdefended off-campus training camp when most of the students are scattered, tie down the pro heroes present with villain encounters, and snatch a few kids. This is the worst League of Villains appearance yet, both in danger and consequences, and Shigaraki's best plan yet. Simply the presence of villains at what was supposed to be a secret training camp is enough to deal a blow to the hero's reputation, but their getting away with Bakugo made it impossible for the encounter to be swept under the rug. It's Shigaraki's first successful operation. The symbol of terror finally makes the heroes stumble. But the day wasn't entirely lost. Even before villainous danger presented itself, Deku was trying to save Kato from the worst fate of all, not thinking superheroes are cool. Because in Tomura and Stain, he's seen what can become of someone with a grudge against heroes. Kato abhors heroes because he thinks they and villains are just jerks showboating with their cool quirks, looking for excuses to fight. He's heard that they're supposed to save people, but as a child of deceased heroes, he only views the conflict between heroes and villains as a way to pointlessly throw one's life away. He's rejected the existence of heroes who want to help people as a lie told to justify his parents' death. Deku wonders what he can say to get through to him when Todoroki offers sage advice. Words must be backed up with action. That's why his words weren't reaching Kato. It's not dissimilar to the Talk No Jutsu method. To reach someone with your words, start with a show of force. His initial concern for Kato leads to a scenario where he's the only one who can save him. He ends up finding a pretty good opportunity to use that advice when a villain threatening Kato criticizes Deku and Koto's dead parents for wanting to do something that was beyond their power. Muscular seems like a might makes right kind of guy, who thinks you should be honest with yourself and do what you want, but wanting to do something you can't is foolish. Especially when saying something like, I'll definitely save you when you aren't strong enough to do so. Deku counters this by pointing out that a hero's job is not only to make that promise, but to risk their lives to fulfill that promise. This not only clarifies the hero's role as the savior of the weak, but recontextualizes his parents' sacrifice. Before Deku's arrival, Kato was completely at the mercy of a sadistic villain. Between this experience and the moment when he blasts Muscular with water to protect Deku, Kato experiences both the need for a hero and the hero's desire to help. Because of Deku, Kato begins to understand and appreciate heroes. Though he couldn't save Bakugo, he did get to single-handedly save a defenseless child and commit his first true act as a hero. And he gets his first fan. Of course, this isn't enough to satisfy Deku. The greatest hero needs to save everyone. Deku still wants to save Bakugo, but as a student, he's not allowed to interfere. What's more, a battalion of heroes led by All Might are working along with the police to rescue him. Deku's efforts are unwanted and logically unneeded. But Deku's always tried to help people when he seemingly shouldn't have. With Bakugo in the first episode, Ochako in the entrance exam, All Might during the USJ invasion, Ida in the Stain arc, or most recently, Kota. But in all of those instances, Deku sprung into action at least in part because he knew something that made him the only person who would or could help, and not interfering would seemingly have led to those characters' potential deaths. This scenario is quite different, yet Deku wants to save Bakugo so badly that he still chooses to act. Like All Might said, it's a hero's place to butt in. This ends up being the correct course of action, as All For One's appearance threatened to thwart the hero's operation to save Bakugo, and Bakugo's presence during All Might's and All For One's duel put the symbol of peace at a disadvantage. Deku's quick thinking both saves Bakugo from a tough spot and eases All Might's load significantly. indirectly contributing to his victory. When All Might sacrifices all of his remaining strength to defeat All For One, both the symbols of peace and evil are removed from the board. Both sides win, and both sides lose horribly. All Might completed his ultimate goal, at the cost of his retirement. Society lost its champion hero. Shigaraki got what he wanted, but at the cost of the man who mentored and cared for him when no one else did, who gave him everything. From this point forward, Deku and Shigaraki both have to fight on their own. All Might remarked that justice is always born from evil, but in truth their relationship is more cyclical than that. All For One incidentally created One For All, the quirk that would eventually allow All Might to defeat him. From there, All For One dedicated a decade to raising Shigaraki to seek his revenge. Justice rose up to stamp out evil, but evil just rose up to fight back. Like Nomu, Shigaraki is a weapon crafted to destroy All Might, an evil of All Might's making. The grandson of Nana Shimura, who All Might failed to save, grows up to despise not only All Might, but the impact he's had on his society, his mission, his message, and even his successor. All For One aspires to etch this man's name into history, to taint All Might's legacy. That's why he's done everything in his power to make him stronger, to make him the perfect weapon against Hero Society. He told Tomura that it was all for him, and that's partially true, but really, it's all for his revenge. If he gets his wish, one day, Tomura will invoke fear in the hearts of society, end the era of peace, and earn the title, Symbol of Terror. Of course, if it is cyclical, then a hero will rise up and oppose the great evil on the horizon in All Might's place. And All Might shows as perfectly as All For One did. He chose a hero who can't help but act when he sees someone afraid, thinks things through carefully, has a deep admiration for heroes and what they represent, and desires to protect and live up to that legacy. If All Might gets his wish, Deku will eventually become a hero capable of protecting society from Shigaraki's terror. Eventually, these two disciples will become rivals whose conflict will determine the fate of all society. And if Deku prevails, he'll carve his own mark in history. Maybe a symbol of peace, or maybe he'll find something new. Personally, I theorize that the power of friendship law dictates that in the case of Deku's generation, it will be heroes instead, allowing them to surpass their predecessor and break the cycle by succeeding where All Might failed. Shigaraki's purpose is to expose the weaknesses of All Might's symbol of peace ideology. All Might's mistake was placing all of society's faith in one person. Perhaps progress would mean not placing one individual hero above everyone else, but instead the greatest hero should focus on elevating the heroes around him. He won't just be the best at saving civilians, he'll be the best at saving civilians and heroes alike. I'd like to thank Wadzanai Mufunde, Dojee, Paige Mulder aka Duchess Celestia, Hunter x Hunter 2011 Dick Writing Association aka Mr. Idealist, Gage Lambert, and DannyDaDonkey for sponsoring this video. If you like it, be sure to subscribe and consider heading over to patreon.com/KatoYT. If you pledge, your name will forever be beside those of these titans of historical significance, our loyal patrons in the credits of a Kato video. While you're at it, check out our My Hero Academia podcast training arc hosted over at our side channel Zero and Hoodie. We talk about 2 volumes of the MHA manga every week. That's all for this one, folks. See you soon.